Hi, I'm Joyce,
And I'm Adrielle.
and we are Divinely Guided.
Still.
Yes. We hope you've had a great week. We hope you enjoyed your Labor Day weekend. Yes. Did you enjoy yours?
I had a great weekend. I had a really nice balance of doing stuff and not doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this wasn't my best weekend, and it should have been because it was the beginning of college football.
Yeah.
But I haven't felt my best this weekend. Anyway, and it carried on into today. It's like, wow, still taking pain medicine. But anyway, we're here. All right, and tonight we're going to talk about, and I really think what we're talking about tonight is at the root of me not feeling well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Because I'm dealing with some physical issues that I used to deal with when I was in college and when you all were very small. But for like a really long time now, I've not dealt with those physical issues at all. But just lately, there are a lot of different things going on. There are a lot of different stresses that I've been dealing with, and then just out of the blue, I start dealing with those pains again. So I'm like, here's this stress again, and here's this pain again. But we press on. But anyway, what we're talking about today is something that is all too common and something that we really need to learn to try to eliminate in our lives because of all of the physical manifestations and the psychological problems as well. But we're talking about stress. Yes. And stress, of course, is the body's response to any kind of pressure or tension, and it can be defined as a state of mental tension or worry. Okay, so stress. And we all deal with stress in our life, right?
Yeah.
Because it can be caused by a variety of factors, and a variety of different, very common things in our lives can cause stress. Even good things can cause stress in our lives. So tonight we want to talk a little bit about some of the things that may contribute to our stress, some of the results of stress, because the reason we talk about it and need to approach it and work on controlling and even eliminating it is because of the physical medical ramifications. So we're going to talk about some of those, and then we're going to look at some of the common stress relievers. Okay? And what we'll actually find is many of the things we've already talked about will come back up in this discussion, because many of the things that we've talked about in self-care are actually good for eliminating stress.
Yeah.
Yes. So, let's talk about it. Some of the causes of stress. Life changes. Any major changes that you have in your life can cause stress. And that includes some very positive things.
Yeah.
But they're just major life changes. So like when people are getting married, it can cause a lot of stress. When people have babies, it can cause a lot of stress. New jobs, which again is a good thing, can cause a lot of stress. I said new job, moving, babies, marriage, houses, all of those things can cause stress.
Yeah.
I looked over there and you were making a little face. You're not feeling your best today either, are you?
Not really.
Okay, we will press on.
No.
But anyway, as I mentioned, work, jobs. A lot of times we face stress out on our jobs. Your job is kind of stressful, right?
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Because there's so many
different moving parts to it, and it's such an important service that it's not something that it's like okay to mess up on a whole lot. So yeah, there is a lot of stress involved.
And yours is a federal are working on a federal program.
Yeah.
The you're still working with food stamps, right?
Yeah.
Or SNAP. Is that what they call it now? SNAP?
Same thing.
Okay. But there are a lot of federal guidelines, and those are very precise.
They are.
You cannot do it almost. It has to be done precisely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Like to the day, it has to be exactly the way it's supposed to be.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So, jobs of that nature, and I know a lot of us have jobs that are very demanding, but jobs can create a lot of stress because of the workload, because they're so demanding, because you're not working in a silo, you're working with people. And anytime you're working with people, it can increase the level of stress in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Financial problems, when you have unexpected bills, got to borrow money, financial strain, all of those things can cause stress and anxiety. Okay, so it might be life changes, might be work, might be financial. It could be health related. Sometimes health related issues bring about stress, and of course you can certainly understand that if there's some serious illness or illness with a particular family member, like a child or elderly parent, an injury, or even a death. Those things can create stress for in our lives. Relationships, relationship difficulties, divorces, any kind of changes to relationships can result in stress. It can trigger stress. Yeah. You don't have any relationships that cause stress, Jay.
Not anymore.
I'm being facetious. Because even like family, mother-daughter relationships can cause stress sometimes.
Yeah.
And tension. Yeah. Any type of relationship, because again, you're dealing with people, and we have different thoughts, opinions, approaches to things, and they can result in stress. Our environment. Are you in an environment where you're being bullied or put down or challenged in a non-productive way?
Harassed.
Harassed.
Yeah.
All of those can create stress. Traumatic events can cause stress, whether it's a car accident, physical assault, emotional assault. All of those things can trigger stress and anxiety. Unrealistic expectations. And that's probably one that's not the only one for sure. There are multiple on this list that we've already talked about that apply to me in my life, even right now, that cause stress. But unrealistic expectations, though, that's something that has followed me. It's part of my personality, unfortunately. I think we talked very early on in our podcast about learning to extend yourself grace, and realize that you don't have to be perfect, but it is something that is still a struggle for me. The struggle to fight that perfectionist mentality, and not even, quite often, it goes so far as to me not even wanting to do something if I don't think I can do it perfectly or well enough to, can you relate to that?
Not anymore.
You said not anymore. But unrealistic expectations can cause stress. Caffeine and alcohol, they can increase the feelings of anxiety, have you running like a little hamster on a wheel.
Yeah.
So there are many different factors that can cause stress, that can increase stress. And then one of the other things that I did not mention, another factor, is a strong genetic disposition to worry and anxiety. So there could be a genetic tie. If you have, if your mom worries a lot, that can be passed on to the child.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when Jared was a baby, I was stressed out a
talking.
lot. I'll just keep on talking. But when Jared was a baby, I was stressed out a lot, and then it started to affect him. I think because he eventually had to start taking Zantac as a baby, and my chiropractor was like, "Yeah, you're stressing out your baby. You need to learn to relax." Oh, he used to always tell me, "You're so tense. Why are your muscles so tight?" But I could not. It's still my struggle, and probably why I've been aching all weekend. But anyway, so did you have anything that you wanted to say about some of the contributors to stress or causes of stress and anxiety? Because I know anxiety is something that you've dealt with to varying degrees at varying times. So what do you think kind of contributes to when you're feeling anxious? Have you pinpointed some things that make you feel anxious?
Well, I know I have issues with control. And whenever I feel like certain areas in my life are out of control, it causes anxiety. So I know that whenever a situation's coming and I don't have as much control in it as I would like, I preemptively already know this is going to stress me out. So I just start trying to reframe my perspective on what's happening.
Oh, okay.
So I like to zoom out of the situation because I'm really not a detail oriented person. I'm really a big picture person. So I like to zoom out and just see the bigger picture and not get caught up in those details because that's where a lot of the stress is.
Okay.
Yeah. What exactly did you just ask me?
No, I just asked about factors. What kind of factors did you feel like contributed to causing anxiety for you?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you answered.
I did.
And I could relate to something you said. You said not having, when you feel like you don't have control.
Yeah.
But some situations you just don't have control over.
Yeah, that's the biggest stress for me.
Yeah, that is a stress for me as well.
Yeah.
And I was at work doing one of those activities that I detest, but it's just, part of it. When we were all in a circle, we're working on a project together, and of course we got to do little different games and everything. And one of the things they wanted us to do was we had to close our eyes and let somebody else direct us. And I was like, oh, no. I mean, I just instantly got so stressed. I was like, I can't do it. I cannot close my eyes and just turn over control completely to somebody else. And I can't see what's going on. And it was just like an instant. No. They're like, Joyce, you okay? I was like, no, I cannot. I cannot do it. And I really wish that I could do it a little bit better, because I think I would feel better if I were able to turn some things over completely to someone else, or even allow myself to be taken care of.
Yeah, I have come a long way with that. And it has not been easy.
Yeah. It's a thing for me, but that is something that creates a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, we've talked about some factors that contribute to stress. Let's talk about some of the effects of stress. Why is it bad? Because stress can sometimes be a good thing. Under certain circumstances, and when you take that stress and use it to make you better, it can be a good thing. I remember when I used to run a little bit. I can remember right before Ready, Set, Go, you just felt those butterflies, that stress is building up. But then you use that energy that it creates to help you run. So I know a lot of times athletes use that stress to sharpen their skill. So it can bring about sometimes, so people say that it makes them mentally more clear. It helps them to sharpen their skills and their focus. But stress unchecked and stress that goes on continuously can lead to some very negative effects on the body. Physical symptoms, headaches, like I've been having, got one bubbling right now, body pain, again, which I've been having, and I can feel it in all my joints going on all weekend. It can cause high blood pressure, dizziness, muscle aches, shortness of breath. So it can definitely do a number on you physically. It can affect your digestive system. You start having bloating and nausea, diarrhea, constipation. And one of the things that gets me every time is it increases your gut's sensitivity to acid, which leads to heartburn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has been an ongoing issue for me in my life. Stress can cause problems with your heart. It increases the risk of heart disease, heart attack, and even stroke. So it is not something that you want to maintain because it's very dangerous. It can have some very adverse effects on your body and your well-being. It can cause you to lose sleep, and it is very hard to sleep for me when I'm stressed out. Is that a common thing for you?
No.
No, you
Not
don't have a
anymore.
problem with Okay, you just said it's so casual. No, not anymore.
Not
So
anymore.
what? You've gotten where you control your stress better?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let you finish that, but I've got some things.
Oh,
I've got a lot
okay.
of things.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and finish the effects of stress. Sleep problems, it'll affect your immune system. It can weaken your immune system, making you more prone to illness. Stress, of course, and we can all relate to this one. Jesus. Stress can lead to weight gain. Weight gain. Because if you're like me, you will feed your stress. Mental health. Stress can increase your anxiety and your depression. So it can have a negative effect on your mental health. And memory and focus. Stress can, start to hamper your memory and your focus. So stress can have a lot of negative effects on your body, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
So what are some things you wanted to share?
Okay, so for me, I feel like I have stumbled into an era where I manage stress a lot better, simply because of reframing stuff. Like I told you, I have an issue with control. And when I noticed this, it became something that I was trying to actively work to correct. Because what I found was having a need for control like that becomes a loss of control. So if you're constantly wanting to control something, you're losing control of your ability to have control, because your need to control will take over. And there have been many situations I've been in where my obsession with having control over a situation turned into a loss of control. And when I realized that it was that counterintuitive, it helped me to back off. Like if I get fully into this and I go headlong, I launch myself into the situation demanding control, that's going to create all these issues. I'm not going to have control. It never fails, in my opinion. So another key word for me would be surrender. When you surrender to the situations that you're in, and just understand that a lot of them won't matter in the long run. Like I said, if you get too caught up in details, you're going to be very stressed out. But if you can zoom out and realize, this is not even going to be stressing me out in 6 months, or this is not going to be stressing me out next year, it takes a lot of the pressure off. I feel like, because sometimes we get so caught up in our immediate stresses that it gets hard to see the future, I guess, or kind of see through what we're going through. I find it helps to be present, because if you're stressing out, you're either thinking about the past, something that didn't go right, or you're thinking about the future. And I find that when I'm present, it leaves less room for me to stress, and I just take each moment for what it is. The more I start to think too far ahead into the future, I'll start panicking. And that's going to cause suffering. And there are some philosophies and stuff that I definitely believe in. There's something called the 5 Kleshas. That's Kleshas, the Kleshas. And I really want to read a book
Never
about
heard
this.
of that.
It's a yoga thing.
Oh, okay.
I really want to read a book about the Kleshas. I've not done. Have I? If I have, it slipped my mind. But basically, the Kleshas are there's 5 of them, and they're the 5 causes of suffering. So the first one is avidya. So that is why did they put that there? Wait a second. Before I tell you wrong. Okay, avidya is ignorance. So lack of knowledge causing stress. Lack of knowledge about earthly things and lack of knowledge about who you are in the greater context. Asmita, which is the ego. Whenever you get caught up in you and your world and your stuff, you get too caught up in that. Or if you're just like full of yourself, that's going to cause suffering. When you have raga, or attachment to an outcome, attachment to physical items, attachment to anything in this world that you might lose, but nothing here is permanent. So as soon as you start finding these attachments like that, that's going to cause suffering. There's something called devesha, which is repulsion, which is interesting because it's the fear of doing something or avoiding something that you don't want to do, which I have more on that. But avoiding something that you don't want to do causes suffering, or dreading something that you don't want to do is going to cause you suffering instead of just doing it. And then there's abhinivesha, which is the fear of death. So that also causes suffering. And so when I learned about those, it was very interesting. But you just realize how much of your life is kind of caught up in you making more suffering by your thought processes and reactions to situations that you can't control. And I was reading Eckhart Tolle recently, one of my favorite teachers, and he was talking about acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm in every situation. You got to have at least one of those. So if it's something that you don't want to do, you have to have that acceptance of it. So that's like whenever you're dreading doing something you don't want to do, that's the acceptance. Like at work today, I was practicing that. I was like, I don't want to be doing this right now. But we have to hit a point of acceptance, because he has an awesome quote that I have on my wall in my office, actually. Let me see if I can find it. He says, if you are not in the state of either acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm, look closely and you find that you are creating suffering for yourself and others. So if you are doing something that you don't want to do, and you do it in acceptance, or if you are doing something that you want to do, you need to do it with enjoyment and enthusiasm. So I think incorporating those things into my life have helped me be an overall less stressed and happier person. So that's where I am with stress. So you're like, oh, well, do you handle that well? I'm like, yeah, when I surrender to the idea that it is what it is and I don't have to have control over the situation, it takes a lot of the stress off. Like I always say, it's this thing that always ends up in my prayers and stuff when I'm very stressed out. I'm like, well, you know, God, I'm not very good at being God. I'm not very good at this.
Yes.
So that's just this running thing I have in my prayer. But it's true. I'm not very good at it. And I don't have to be.
Yeah. Now on the from a very logical point, I fully get and I grasp that. But sometimes in the heat of the moment, I slip back into my emotional self. And from an emotional standpoint, you know, you're not thinking logically and reasonable and rational. You're just focusing on what you feel more so, and you're giving more weight to what I feel. And that's why, you know, so often I don't like to even be emotional, because then I give in to how I feel. I rather think through things logically. And, you know, when I think of it logically, then I can say, it's easier for me to say, I'm not God. I can't do it all and I don't have to. That's okay. But in your emotional self, it's not as easy to step away and be more realistic.
Yeah. For me, I don't mind being emotional because to me, there's just a difference between being emotional and emotionally immature.
Mm-hmm.
Because the emotionally immature part of me is the one that's gonna freak out. But I don't know.
Okay. But with me, yeah, I don't like being very emotional. I really don't. I
know.
You know it well.
Yeah.
But because again, it goes back to me not liking to lose control, and I just feel like that's when I'm more prone to lose control when I'm being emotional, and I'm not, you know, thinking my way through logically.
So, do you think emotions are a bad thing?
Not necessarily, no. I just don't want to be emotional. It just, I always, and I need to learn to stop feeling this way. I always feel like I have to take care of everything and everybody. And so I just don't feel like I have the luxury of time and energy that emotion uses. It requires too much of my time and my energy when I feel like I need to use my time and my energy on solving whatever the issue is and moving to the next step and the next phase. But I probably need to do more of what you told me at one point this weekend when I was battling with stress.
Yeah.
Is be more present, be
Yeah.
more mindful. Let's just enjoy this moment. What you tell me? What was that? Was that Saturday
I think so.
or Sunday?
One
One
of
of
those
those days, yeah. And you were like, no, let's just enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
so-
I also wonder what would happen if you just took care of people just less.
I do need to
The world
take care of people a
would
little
keep
less.
turning.
It would, and from a very logical perspective, from a very logical place, I'm well aware of that. But then, just some things, just sometimes things happen and you just think to yourself, if I had just taken care of that and done like this, like I was going to do in the first place, then we wouldn't be dealing with this right now. It just anyway.
I don't know. Need for control equals loss of control.
Need for control equals what? Loss of control.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you talking, little girl. All right. But there was some good information that you shared, though. That really was. And I will have to admit, for years, I feel like I have done a better job of dealing with stress using many of these self-care things and techniques that we've talked about over time.
Yeah.
They've been a part of my life, and that's why we started doing this one, is partially because it was something we could both relate to,
Yeah.
because we were employing so many of these things in our lives. But just, I don't know why lately I'm just feel like I'm spiraling again. So I'll just have to practice more of my self-care and be more in my moment.
It's interesting that when you can talk all day about self-care, but as soon as you're going through something, it's difficult to remember the self-care. I find that to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, I need
So
that
this
now.
is what I need it more than ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sitting this morning doing morning meditation, and I thought about that. I was like, okay, because when your mind is running, sometimes it's hard to sit there in your meditation and just be present and go through the meditation. And I would go through, and I was going through my guided meditations, my favorite one on gratitude. Because when all else fails, if I can get back to gratitude, I can generally get to a good place.
Yeah.
But I kept finding my mind running from, I would be in the middle of that meditation, and then I realize I'm off somewhere thinking about something else instead of staying in that. But anyway, I'm still human. I'm still working on it. All right. Controlling stress, ways to control stress and anxiety. Many other things, most of these things we've talked about one way or the other throughout this podcast. Okay, so exercise, physical activity can help relieve stress. Eating healthy, we talked about eating healthy, that can help eliminate stress. Getting enough sleep, we've talked about ways to improve the quality of your sleep, that can help reduce stress. Being mindfulness, paying attention to this present moment with guided meditation. We've talked about that, but that can help reduce stress. Socializing, making time for relaxing and socializing. We've talked about that, and we've talked about staying connected. And that's the area where I admittedly I struggle socializing, and I just, the thought of it almost paralyzes me sometimes. Setting goals, set realistic goals, can help you build your confidence and help you deal with that stress. Avoiding alcohol and smoking, caffeine as means of dealing with stress. You should avoid those. Challenge your negative thoughts. Actively challenge those. See what you're thinking. See where those negative thoughts are, and say, okay, this is nonsense, Joyce. You don't have to take care of everything and everybody. Just do you. Laughter, we've talked about that, how laughter can help you to feel better, reduce stress hormones. And then last one, our favorite one, and I need to do that because I was doing really good for a while, and just lately I've kind of fallen off the wheel with that, but keeping that journal. And Lord knows I have enough journals.
Yeah.
She said, yeah, you do. But writing in a journal can help when you start to feel overwhelmed. So I noticed you had a couple of things highlighted or starred under controlling stress. And what were the ones that particularly jumped out to you?
Mindfulness. I think awareness is key in a lot of situations. Just staying aware. Socialization. I find whenever I'm with family or friends, it becomes almost impossible to think about those things that are stressing me out. And one thing that's not on here, there are certain activities that I do that take up my whole mind that I don't have time to think. Whenever I'm playing my flute, that's perfect stress relief because I can't think of anything else. I'm so into it. Anything that makes you feel present is a stress reliever. Anything that takes you outside of yourself is a stress reliever. So socialization can do that. Mindfulness will do that. Setting goals too, because it gives you something to work towards. I like doing that as well. So those are just the three things that I thought were very important.
And then you added one.
Oh, I said be in the moment.
Oh, okay.
Which I touched on. So.
Right, you did. But very well. So if you are dealing with stress, and all of us deal with stress at certain times in our lives and to varying degrees, but we want to encourage, first of all, I want to encourage myself to deal with stress and practice eliminating it more, because I do realize that it has some very negative health ramifications.
Yeah.
Like I said, that I'm even struggling with right now. Even the conversation of stress has caused my head to pound more. And I'm now dizzy to go with it.
That's
so
not good.
But so we have to work
Get
on
you some skull cap.
I'm gonna go and take my nighttime supplements to.
No, this is for anxiety and stuff.
They
too.
slow me down. Skull cap.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's originally why I made it, but herb.
Okay.
But I had gotten so stressed out. I think I had to reach a rock bottom with my stress before I was able to come out of something. Because in college and even in high school, I would just have these really bad, and even in middle school, like too young to be having these type of things. I didn't have anything for real going on, but I would just get so wound up, and I would literally get the shakes.
Yeah, I remember you doing that in high school when you would just be trembling.
Yeah. I would be shaking, and if my head was shaking back, I'd have it was almost like a seizure. It was terrifying, and I couldn't breathe. And so I feel like I just had to finally reach the little rock bottom with that before I could come back from that. I think what it was I had a panic attack on stage, which I had so many, because I'm a musician. I had many panic attacks on stage, but there was this one specific panic attack that I remember, and I was like, this has to stop. This is it. And then I started not manifesting. I started imagining, because you sent me a meditation tape. And so I started listening to it, and it made me, I didn't realize what it was doing at the time, but it put me back in the present moment. Because I was getting so stressed out that I was depersonalizing. I was like coming outside of my body, and I could like see myself. I was that stressed out. But it took me into myself and into the moment, and I felt very like alive and real. And I was like, for the first time I went on stage, and I felt like I was there when I was on stage. So I was like, this being present thing is huge. So yeah.
Well, very good. So we're gonna work on being in the moment
Yeah.
and realizing that we can't control everything and we shouldn't even try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll go crazy. You can't do it.
You calling me crazy? But anyway, we're going to work on eliminating stress and at the very least controlling it before it controls us.
Yeah.
Because it can be very, it can just do all kinds of things to your mind and body.
Yeah.
So get that under control. But anyway, so we've talked much too long tonight. We've never talked this long, but stress is a serious situation. And it is something that is so prevalent. There's so much stress. There's so many pressures in life. And I tell you, one of the things that has also increased my level of stress, I've tried to avoid it, but I keep running into it. What, you already know?
We'll see.
Politics.
Yes. Yeah.
The whole ugly
That is
politics. It just is stressful. And when your daddy is in town, he listens to something constantly, and it's like, I cannot take it anymore. This constant bickering. I don't like arguing, and that constant state of being in that, like you're arguing with somebody.
Yeah.
I can't deal with it on an ongoing basis like we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm going to practice some of all the things that we've talked about that I have done for many years and see if by this time next week I can have myself in a better space.
Yeah.
Although I kind of don't think by next week it's going to be better. And it's for, we're going to a game this weekend. So I'm already in my mind dealing with all of the stresses of going to the game.
This should be a fun thing.
It is. It will be fun. But the planner, the controller, the in me will just not relax and just let it be. And then, anyway, such is life. But I want to tell you, don't be like Joyce. Take some time for yourself this week. Do something that is going to reduce your level of stress. Do something that is going to increase your self-care. Why, Adrienne?
Because you deserve it.
You absolutely do. Good night.
Good night.